Unfortunately, there are some statistics that second marriages are not necessarily always successful.
Those statistics really have a lot to do with that, right? We're not always in the space to do the work, and what we call the work is the taking a look at, the lessons learned, our role. Hi, Mari.
Hi, Hilsa, and hi, everybody that is listening or watching us in here another episode of Letters to My Therapist.
Yes, welcome back. We have a really long letter for you today, Mari, in doing letters to my therapist, where, right, we have these opportunities where we invite our audience to send us letters to share with us their questions, their thoughts, their concerns about being in relationship or while they're in a relationship, or sometimes when we have to decide to exit a relationship. So we have a long letter today for you.
Okay,
And
please read that letter. We are
it
looking forward to
goes,
make comments.
yes. So it goes with, Dear Therapist, I never thought I'd be writing a letter like this, but I am at a loss, and I really need some guidance. I'm a 43-year-old woman, and I've been in a relationship for 3 years with a man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. Things were great too in the beginning. He was kind and attentive, and we seemed to have the same values and goals. We've both been married before, and we were determined not to make the same mistakes again. Any thoughts up to this point, Madi?
Well, so she is saying that they both have experience in previous marriage, and we know the possibility of success in a second marriage has this element of previous experience. You can be intentional, trying not to make the same mistakes. Unfortunately, there are some statistics that second marriages are not necessarily always successful. So then we see here, like maybe there are some patterns of relationship, of previous relationships that unfortunately, when we don't do the work after a breakup, sometimes we repeat the patterns, and
Right.
who
Right.
knows if
Those statistics really have a lot to do with that, right? That we're not always in the space to do the work, and what we call the work is the taking a look at the lessons learned, our role in our past relationships, and when we don't really do all of that, we tend to enter other relationships that even trying to be mindful, as it sounds like this writer is trying to be mindful of the past, that sometimes we get into trouble, right?
yeah. So she's saying that at the beginning, this person was kind and attentive. I'm
Right.
wondering, okay, was there a change? Was there a shift? So let's see what the rest of the letter says.
What else she says. So she goes on to say, but lately I feel like we've drifted apart and I don't know how to fix it. He's become distant, spending more time at work or with his friends than he does with me. When we do talk, it's mostly about surface level things, what's for dinner or whether the bills are paid. There's no emotional connection anymore, and I'm starting to feel like a roommate rather than a partner.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Well, so in relationships, there are phases. So that is one thing that is important to mention, that the chemistry at the beginning sometimes keeps a
Right.
high level of motivation, a high level of engagement. Some couples are not able, when that phase kind of like fades, sometimes couples are not able to keep the spark and keep the relationship alive and nurture the relationship in the way that in the other phases that are a little bit more calm, keep that level of engagement. But what caught my attention here is that seems like it's too much of a change. That is not only that change in face, because she was talking about at the beginning very kind and attentive, now very distant, and spending time away from the relationship.
Right.
So we don't know the specifics, but this could be an indicator of something bigger. Sometimes there are people that do they discard the partner after a while. They start with a very high note, and then they make that type of shift. So we're talking about here the possibility, some behaviors, some patterns that are a little bit more like antagonistic, more like narcissistic type of thing. We don't know
We're
at
not
all
sure,
if
right?
this is
We're not
happening,
sure.
but at least the pattern is interesting what is
It's
happening
interesting the
there.
before and the now, right?
Yeah, too much of a shift there. And she feel that there is no emotional connection and they are kind of like roommates. So that sometimes happen too. Like people grow apart, like
Right.
they realize that they are different, that the
Mhm.
interests are not really in common. Once the infatuation phase kind of pass, they realize like in life they don't have the same
It's possible
motivations, same
now. The
passions.
flip side of that could be right that the period of infatuation has kind of faded, which, like you said, is normal part. And phase one of a relationship is that whole infatuation phase. But then they feel that since the infatuation is gone, that maybe the whole relationship isn't any good. So the flip side of that could be that they are mistaking the next stage or the next phase of a relationship to mean that they aren't compatible or that it isn't working, because the next phase of a relationship requires one to be a little bit more intentional, to really nurture, right? To really focus in on those things. So at this point we're not sure, but it could be either end of that continuum. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, totally,
Okay,
totally.
so let me see what else she says.
Hmm.
So I've tried bringing this up to him a few times, but he either brushes it off or tells me I'm overreacting. I don't want to nag, but I also don't want to continue feeling like I'm invisible in my own relationship. I love him, but I'm starting to wonder if he still loves me the way he used to. And so her question is, how do I get him to see how serious this is for me without pushing him away further? Is there a way to rekindle the connection we once had, or am I holding on to something that's already gone?
Okay, so here there is another flag for me. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
color to put to that flag yet, but definitely call my attention when he's telling her, when she bring the problem to his attention,
Mm-hmm.
he's dismissing that. He's telling her you are overreacting
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
So that is a behavior that is not very healthy,
Mm-hmm.
at least, to say the least. And I will invite this person to pay attention. Is this a pattern?
Right.
Do you notice now that all your needs are ignored? Do you notice that every time you bring this problem and this situation, seems like for what she's saying? So I think it's very important for her to really diagnose this right away.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you express your needs
Mm-hmm.
very clear to this person, because the way that he will respond to your needs when they are spelled out and
Right.
when you speak very clearly, so
Right.
that will give you an indicator if there is potential here, is there is possibility to rebuild this
And
relationship
that's
or
that's
not.
that's an important point, because many times we're not we just feel this distance. But when somebody says to you, "Oh, you're just overreacting," or really, it's not a big deal, or we don't want to, I think that's could be a concrete way for people to really, or for at least our writer here, our author here, to be able to get a clearer sense of how engaged are they, both of
Mhm.
them, into the relationship. If we often get the feeling that our feelings are being dismissed, it isn't going to be something where you are going to be able to, right, bridge back towards each other. So I think that's a good point, a good way to be able to look at, is this, is there a place here for us
Mhm.
to rebuild? Now, of course, also, right, Mari, we always talk about how it takes two to tango. So, she can offer these things, and if her partner isn't willing to, turn towards her and really have that uh, curiosity or that desire to engage or to re-engage, that's information for her as
Yeah.
well, right?
And not even empathy, because let's say that he doesn't have the same needs, because I don't know, maybe there is a phase on his life that is, you know, she mentioned he's working a lot. So
Mm,
maybe the career, maybe the profession is taking a lot of his time and his attention. And, she said he's spending a lot of time with his friends. But what happened when you express that you have needs? Is
mm,
there any sense of empathy?
mm.
Do you notice any interest at all for, because the person could be kind of like distracted and
Right.
didn't realize that the relationship is not really in a good place, but
Mm-hmm.
now you're bringing the attention to this. You're saying what you feel. You're saying how you are experiencing the situation. So
Mm,
is there a response at all, or
right.
it's not? If it's not, you need to make sure that you pay attention to what you need, and you pay attention clearly what are your expectations in relationship.
Right. And there we go back to a common theme for us, right? That being in relationship with someone else really requires that we're clear, or that we get some clarity, because I think it's a process over time, but that we get some clarity on the relationship that we have with ourselves. That what are things that are important to us, as you were saying, what are our values, what do we want going forward, what's expected. They had both been married and divorced, so they both knew that they wanted certain things that were different here, right? So in that clarity of the relationship with herself is where then she can, do, I think, more of what you're talking about. Let's sit down, have a conversation, put everything out on the table, as they say, and then see what her partner does with it.
Yeah, and she used the word like, I don't want to be nagging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be nagging. And I want to tell her, when you express your needs in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, um, you are not nagging.
Right.
So, and sometimes we do that. Like, we try to avoid confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to seem like we are too needy.
Right.
Uh, there is a difference between being too needy
Mm-hmm.
and express your needs.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important that we give ourselves permission to express. Also, don't be afraid of generating some sort of conflict,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
relationships grow out of the conflict. It's not the issue, it's the way we handle the issue.
Absolutely. And that's always something, right, that we go back and forth to. People will tell us how they don't fight. Well, sometimes that worries me more, because then we're not sharing what each person is thinking or experiencing or feeling. And we're living then in fear, right, of losing the relationship, or disapproval or rejection. So there isn't an ability to have some quality relationships.
Mhm.
Now, at the same time, Mari, we both know that there are situations, right, where, um, you know, managing the conflict, or managing these kinds of inability to share our feelings or whatever, there are some situations that require that we consider safety, both physical as well as emotional safety. So we're not implying that this is really something that's very simple to manage. When
No.
we give recommendations here, right? Mari and I are talking about a general framework of how to take care of yourself within being in a relationship, and then how to kindly and respectfully bring things up in relationships. If there is a situation in which you don't feel safe bringing up what you're thinking or feeling, that's a whole other conversation. And we always have, we're always open to those kinds of questions or concerns, as well as that we have resources on our site of letters-to-my-therapist.com for any kind of those more specific situations. I just wanted to throw that in there, right, Marty, because we're encouraging people to have conversations, and we have to have these kind of conversations in a place where we feel safe and
Yes.
some sense of regard, right?
Yes, totally, totally. Yeah. That is definitely very important. So that's why if she may need some professional guidance, she may need some professional help by being able, if you notice that this issue continue and you don't find the response that you are expecting in your partner, and you realize that you have emotional distress because of this, definitely seek help. So no, you already seek help sending us the letter, but I think probably you will need to sit down in a one-on-one level to be able to process a little bit more your feelings. And one thing that is popping in my mind too is that a lot of times things are very well at the beginning of a relationship, but that relationship didn't pass to the next phase, and we keep hoping that things go back, and we kind of like stay thinking that maybe one day things are gonna go back, and you stay sometimes too long in a relationship because what we had. But if what we had is not what we have, so we have to be able to adjust the expectations, and we have to be able to
what's
make
there, right?
make decisions based on what is there, not only because for a period of time. In the face of infatuation is easy.
Sure.
It's easy.
And we talk about that, right? Dating potential, right? So these are our recommendations for today. There's a lot of information that we shared with you because this letter really talks about a lot of common situations, questions that we share. And if any of these things resonate for you, any of these points, either our recommendations as well as the letter, we really want to invite you to leave us a comment. If your situation is a little bit different, we want to invite you to send your own letter, and you can always find us at letters-to-my-therapist.com, and we hope that you'll join us on our next episode.
Yes, so we're looking forward to read your comments in YouTube. So that will be really important for us, so we can keep this conversation a little bit more open. So this will be really enjoyable. So in the next episode, we don't want you to miss it. We're gonna be talking about dealing with intimacy when somebody have history of trauma. So please
So join us.
join us.